Hello and welcome. It's 10 a.m. on Tuesday, the 14th of October. You're tuned in to our mid-morning newscast here on Arirang TV. It's great that you could join us. I'm Mark Broome. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. In a development that should end intensifying speculation about his health and his grip on power, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un makes his first public appearance in nearly 6 weeks at a newly built housing complex. Against the backdrop of increased tensions, President Park Geun-hye says South Korea remains open to dialogue with North Korea, but it will stand firm against any further provocations. Plus, the strongest tropical cyclone of the year, Typhoon Vongfong, batters Japan, injuring dozens and forcing hundreds of thousands of people to flee their homes. Our top story this morning, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has made his first public appearance in 40 days, sweeping away rumours he was gravely ill or had been overthrown. The North state-run Korean Central News Agency reported early Tuesday that Kim gave so-called field guidance at a newly built Wisong Scientist Residential District. The report did not say when the visit took place, but added that he made another visit the same day to a newly built Natural Energy Institute. No mention of Kim's health was made, although he was seen walking with a cane in photos released by the Nodong Shinmun on the same day. The young leader was speculated to have been suffering from a sore foot that required surgery. A US-based think tank has reiterated that it believes North Korea has shut down a key reactor at one of its major nuclear sites. The Institute for Science and International Security said, however, that its assessment of a possible partial or total shutdown of the 5-megawatt reactor at the Yongbyon nuclear facility does not imply that it has been permanently shut down. Early this month, the Institute released satellite imagery of the nuclear reactor that indicated it had partially or completely ceased operations. In this latest report, though, the Institute goes on to say the reactor is expected to restart, and evidence of that would be the discharge of water from the secondary cooling system. It says the reactor has probably been shut down for maintenance or partial refueling. President Park Geun-hye has once again emphasized that Seoul is ready and open for high-level talks with Pyongyang. This despite recent contradictory signals coming out of the north. Our Chae-sun reports.
3 days after North Korea fired machine gun rounds in retaliation of South Korean propaganda leaflets, President Park Geun-hye stressed that the two Koreas need to engage in talks.
전쟁 중에도 대화는 필요하다는 말이 있듯이 한반도 긴장 완화와 평화 정착을 위해서는 대화가 지속되어야 합니다. 고위급 접촉을 남북 관계 개선의 기회로 삼아야 합니다.
Pyongyang's latest hostile act came just days after it took Seoul up on an offer for talks. At our Unification Preparatory Committee's second meeting Monday, the South Korean president said when the two sides meet, they should talk over the possibility of the South lifting sanctions that were imposed after the North torpedoed a South Korean warship in 2010. By referring to the sanctions, a major bone of contention between the two Koreas for the first time since taking office last year, President Park is thought to have placed more weight on settling issues through dialogue. The president, however, took a cautious tone about mending ties with North Korea, saying inter-Korean relations have always been double-sided.
섣부른 판단으로 남북 관계의 환경을 바꾸는 것은 매우 위험한 일입니다. 그렇기 때문에 정부는 앞으로도 도발에는 단호히 대처해 나가되 대화의 문은 항상 열어놓고 평화 정착을 위해 노력해 나갈 것입니다.
As for a campaign to have both Koreas prepare for unification, the president called for a detailed plan to break ground on her envisioned DMZ Peace Park, a charter to instill public will for unification and increase support for the North's humanitarian needs. Chae-sun, Arirang News.
President Park embarks on a 4-day trip to Italy on this Tuesday for talks with Italian officials and to attend a special forum on Asia-Europe relations. The Korean leader is scheduled to give a speech on ways to improve connectivity between Asia and Europe at the summit of the Asia-Europe meeting, which opens on Thursday in Milan. President Park will also hold a meeting with her Italian counterpart, Giorgio Napolitano, as well as Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi, to discuss bilateral business cooperation. She will also pay a visit to Pope Francis, who made a very historic visit to South Korea in August. Korea's most popular messaging app, KakaoTalk, says it will stop fully cooperating with authorities seeking to access private messages between users. Speaking at a hastily arranged press conference in Seoul on Monday, Lee So-gu, who is CEO of Daum Kakao, which owns KakaoTalk, apologized for its initial handling of privacy issues. The government's recent announcement of stern punishment for what it called online criticism prompted a great many Koreans to drop KakaoTalk in favor of foreign messaging apps. He admitted they had lost some users and saw a drop in mobile traffic, but he wouldn't be drawn on how many people actually quit the service. Time now for a check through the international headlines we're following on this Tuesday morning. For that, we turn to Eunice Kim, standing by at the news center. Hello there, Eunice.
Good morning, Mark.
Now, Japan has been pummeled by powerful storm Vongfong, this on Monday, and now Tokyo was hit earlier this morning. What do we know about the impact?
Well, Mark, Japan's weather agency reported that the center of the storm passed through north of Tokyo very early this morning and has since moved out to the Pacific Ocean at around 6 a.m. The storm, though, laid out a path of destruction even as the hurricane was downgraded to a tropical storm yesterday. NHK reports at least one person was killed, a 90-year-old man in Tottori Prefecture found in an irrigation channel. At least two others are missing as some 90 people were injured. Winds of up to 108 kilometers per hour doused Japan with torrential rains as it made its way northeast and caused major transport disruptions at the end of a 3-day holiday there. Some 500 local flights were grounded. Many trains in western cities were suspended as well. Evacuation advisories were issued in several prefectures, affecting more than 800,000 people. Officials are watching for more potential damage in the form of landslides and floods throughout today. And a new day has dawned in Hong Kong after a Monday wrought with clashes between pro-democracy protesters and anti-Occupy groups that included taxi drivers demanding that the major thoroughfares be cleared after more than 2 weeks of paralyzing sit-ins. Admiralty around lunchtime on Monday was the scene of the run-ins where several hundred people stormed the main protest site with police holding back the angry crowds. It was unclear who organized the flash mob, but some have blamed organized criminal gangs. Activist leaders have been calling on Beijing to grant fully democratic elections for the territory, a demand that the city's chief executive, C.Y. Leung, has said will fall on deaf ears. And it's being called a stunning shift and strikingly open language. The Vatican has called for the church to welcome gays and lesbians, saying they have gifts and talents to offer the Christian community. The statement came in a preliminary report released at a halfway point of a closed-door Vatican meeting on the topic of family, where Pope Francis and 200 Catholic bishops are debating controversial issues such as divorce, birth control, and homosexuality. Well, no doctrinal changes were proposed. The 12-page report did say that some gay couples provided each other with support to the point of sacrifice. The synod also said the church needed to recognize the positive aspects of civil unions and couples who cohabitate with the goal of bringing them to a church wedding. A final document is expected to be issued later on Saturday.
Their weight is
A major gas deal was signed between Beijing and Moscow on Monday that would enable Russian gas supplies to be exported to China's northeast via the Power of Siberia pipeline, also known as the Eastern Route. The document was signed during a visit by China's Premier Li Keqiang to Moscow, together with Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. The 40-year agreement laid the groundwork for both sides to cooperate in the spheres of engineering, construction, and operation of the gas pipeline infrastructure.
Said that a team of South Korea.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers 15 billion. French economist Jean Tirole has been named winner of this year's Nobel Prize for Economics for his research on market power and regulation. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences said the 61-year-old had clarified how to understand and regulate industries with a few powerful firms. Tirole works at the Toulouse School of Economics in France. The Academy added that his work had a strong bearing on how governments deal with mergers or cartels and how they should regulate monopolies. It was the first economics prize without an American winner since 1999. The International Monetary Fund has called for aggressive measures to prevent the global economy from slumping back into recession. Economists there are advising against the loose monetary policies of the recent past and are instead calling for much greater restraint. Our Song Ji-sun has the details.
At the IMF semi-annual meetings that wrapped up over the weekend, global leaders sounded an alarm about the slowing world economy. On top of this, economists and policymakers, and even some investors, warned that expansionary monetary policies could trigger a global financial crisis. They pointed to inflated asset prices and the increasing debt levels of many countries. Bond markets in the Eurozone are booming, and China's debt is hovering at a record high despite slowing growth. Share prices in the U.S. have also soared in recent months, although there was a sharp fall last week. Still, the European Central Bank is pressuring its member countries to buy government bonds in the Eurozone, which would trigger even more of a global buying frenzy for the bonds. Chief economists and major institutions say central bankers need to be aware of asset bubbles and act accordingly. According to a report by the IMF, asset management firms have increased their purchase of bonds from emerging markets to nearly $2 trillion from $265 billion in the early 2000s. Regulators worry that retail investors will pull their money out at the same time when U.S. interest rates rise, triggering another market convulsion in emerging economies. The Federal Reserve is set to end its current bond buying program this month. Its next step would be raising its near-zero rate, probably in mid-2015. The IMF also called on central banks to be careful when communicating changes in policy in order to avoid financial market shocks. Song Ji-sun, ARIRANG News.
Now, after months of delays over traffic congestion concerns and some really serious safety issues, Korean retail giant Lotte Group has finally opened the lower floors of its landmark shopping mall that towers over southeastern Seoul. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
Becoming a global multi-purpose shopping complex, that's the goal Lotte World Mall will strive to achieve. Korea's largest shopping mall, which comes with a luxury department store, a duty-free store, a cinema, and an aquarium, opened its doors to the public on Tuesday. With some 1,000 local and global brands included in its lineup, Lotte wants visitors to shop, dine, and enjoy entertainment under one giant roof. But the retail giant still has some major obstacles to clear. The mall was due to open at an earlier date, but this was pushed back due to worries about traffic congestion as well as some serious safety concerns. The district is already a crowded residential area with a large theme park and department store, so traffic is expected to worsen with the opening of the mall. In a bid to encourage customers to use public transportation, Lotte plans to build an underground pedestrian plaza in the area that will connect with the nearby subway station and later a bus terminal to be built in the area. It will also adopt a parking reservation system and will only provide a pay parking lot. To address well-documented safety concerns following the appearance of sinkholes and a decline in water level in the nearby lake, Lotte says the mall will undergo regular safety inspections in conjunction with the city government and follow strict management measures. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
A new poll shows an overwhelming majority of Korean university students have a very low opinion of the politicians that are supposed to represent them. In a survey conducted by a local newspaper on nearly 2,000 college students this August and September, 85% of respondents said politicians were the most unreliable group in Korean society. Journalists were next on the list, but much further down at around 7%, followed by soldiers and businessmen at about 2% each. As for the most reliable, almost 16% pointed to themselves, university students, and then to non-profits and farmers. On the most pressing issue facing Korea, more than a quarter said it was corruption, followed by the widening gap between the rich and the poor. Now, a growing number of Korean firms are making a much more concerted effort to give back to society, not only here in Korea, but overseas as well. While no one expects to solve the world's problems through these kind of activities, a touch of corporate social responsibility does benefit the companies themselves, of course, and also the communities around them. Our Paulie reports.
This is Dream Center, established in Indonesia by Hyundai Motor with the help of the Korea International Cooperation Agency. The facility offers practical lessons on maintenance techniques to young students, which helps them find a job or launch their own businesses. The first Dream Center was set up last year in Ghana, a technical high school for automobiles that was built for local students.
Korea, through Hyundai and Koika, helping us to develop our country, to help the youth through this engineering skills acquisition. We are happy with that.
The group also operates a project called the Happy Move Global Youth Volunteer Program, which has been sending volunteers across the globe every year since its foundation in 2008. Kia Motors' Green Light project provides assistance to African nations, while Samsung's Amazon School in Brazil gives education opportunity to underprivileged kids. In Vietnam, both Hillsong and SK are operating a free medical service clinic for children.
To fulfill our responsibility as a global firm, we are making diverse social contributions, not just in Korea, but overseas as well. We hope these activities will also help the nation improve its global status.
With more local companies developing inroads into international markets, their social contribution activities are expected to continue gathering speed, helping to widen their profit sharing by helping communities in need. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off at Cheongwade. That's because a number of Korean Asian Games athletes were invited to a congratulatory luncheon by President Park Geun-hye on Monday. Now, 512 athletes and coaching staff members were invited to a congratulatory luncheon, including rhythmic gymnast Son Yeon-jae and Olympic swimmer Park Tae-hwan. Now, in a speech, President Park Geun-hye thanked everyone for their hard work and stated that she was touched by their performance and sportsmanship at the Incheon Asian Games. She added that she'll be looking forward to their performance at the Rio Summer Games 2 years later, as she was given the Asian Games torch as a gift. And now moving over to the PGA this time, where the 2014-2015 season kicked off with the Fries.com Open in Napa, California. And the winner of the season opener, South Korea's very own Bae Sang-moon. Now, the 28-year-old who won his first PGA title last year at the HP Byron Nelson Championship won his second career PGA title after shooting a 15-under par overall to claim the top prize at the PGA Tour's 2014-2015 season opener. With the win, he joins Chae Kyung-ju and Yang Yong-eun as one of only 3 South Koreans to win at least 2 PGA Tour titles. And now shifting over to the Korean national football team this time as the Taeguk Warriors are set to face off against Costa Rica later tonight after that impressive win against Paraguay last Friday. But the match against Costa Rica should be a tougher task for the Korean national team as the 63rd ranked Korea looks overmatched against the 15th ranked Costa Rica on paper. But manager Uli Stilicke remained confident at the press conference on Monday, stating that he's confident that they will win the match, despite trying a new experiment with this lineup later tonight. Meanwhile, the match will take place at the Seoul World Cup Stadium at 8 p.m. And moving over to rhythmic gymnastics, where it seems like a congratulatory luncheon at Cheongwadae wasn't the only major invitation Son Yeon-jae received. In fact, she was also invited to the most famous gala show in rhythmic gymnastics. Euluska Gym, as it's called, invites some of the best rhythmic gymnasts in the world each year for a gala show. And after claiming Korea's first gold medal at the Asian Games, Son Yeon-jae was invited to be a part of the most renowned gala show in the sport. Meanwhile, the event will take place in Vitoria, Spain on November 8th. And now finishing things off with some Monday night's KBO action, the SK Wyverns continue their amazing run, beating the Tusan Bears 7-6 after being down by 2 at the bottom of the ninth with the Nexen Heroes, beating the Kia Tigers 8-5 with Nexen's Seok Chang setting a new single-season hits record with this 197th hit. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Samsung Lions trying to get close to another pennant as they take on the last-place Hanwha Eagles with their magic number at 2. Now going to the game here right off the bat, first inning with man on, Chet Tae-in deep to left center. There it goes, a 2-run shot, and the Samsung Lions take a 2-0 lead. A few plays later, Park Geun-hye this time singles to center. In comes Lee Seung-yup as Samsung takes an early 3-0 lead. Now second inning, more from Samsung, this time Yamiako Navarro deep to left center. Gone, and it's 4-0 Samsung. Now Asian Games star Lee Tae-young struggles on the mound, giving up 7 runs in just 2 innings. As the Samsung Lions absolutely crushed the Hanwha Eagles 22-1, lowering their magic number to 1. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Well, we have the chilliest morning of the season and cold wave advisory is still in place for some parts of Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do and Chungcheong-do provinces at the moment. And we're looking at a clear skies and it should remain mostly sunny throughout the day across the nation. But daily highs will hardly make it to 20, so chill in the air should continue to dominate the whole peninsula. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. Now, the daily low in Seoul started out at 10, but the daytime highs will be lower than yesterday, only reaching to 19, while Daegu and Busan will rise to 20, and Gwangju will peak at 21 this afternoon. Now, for other regions, Jeju Island and Daejeon should see highs of 19 and 10, while Dokdo peaks at 14 this afternoon. Well, it seems like temperatures will stay relatively cooler than seasonal norms for the remainder of the week, so be sure to dress warm this week. Also beware that we have rain in the forecast on Thursday morning. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now. We'll be back again with another newscast at noon Korea time in about 90 minutes. Until then, goodbye.